There are so many educative kits and tools and all that out there. But what is really the missing link is this bridge to bring this nerdy stuff to all the kids equally. Technology will always be a mirror of our values and of ourselves as a society, but it's never evil itself or good per se. It's like what we make out of it. And I think this is really important to educate people and also kids and teenagers about that. And this is our purpose. So there is hierarchy, right? We are not missing any hierarchies, but it's just spread it differently. I think we are only flexible. Sometimes this is hard, but nobody has the same contract in our company. For me, this is a key to happiness factor for the team because, there are people who come in at 11 to the office. This would be my worst dream. I need to get up early. I need to work early because this is the most productive time for me. But I know there are different people and that's all right. And I feel pretty confident that so many people within the team feel so empowered that they will manage to keep the company alive in the best way I would also do it.
Bonjour, and welcome to Mission First, the podcast to get inspired and to learn from successful entrepreneurs who are building a sustainable future for our planet and its people. I am Gilles Toussaint, your host and the founder of GT Impact, a growth and digital marketing agency working only with companies making a positive difference in this world. Growing a company that aims at having a sustainable impact is not easy. That's why I created Mission First. In each episode, I interview one entrepreneur who has a sustainable mission and who has recently gone through the difficult first years successfully. Together, we discuss their challenges and what they have learned on the way. We go into detail with a specific focus on company culture, leadership, financing, growth, and business strategy. That way, you'll learn hands-on tips on how to build a better future and a successful company too. In this episode, our guest is Franziska Schmid, the CEO and co-founder of Junge Tüftler and the Tufts Academy. With her companies, Franzi and her team have taught technology through events, workshops and webinars to more than 25,000 kids and teenagers in Germany who have learned that way how to become young inventors. Franzi is a friend of mine and I was very excited to learn more about the successful growth of her company, but also because she has an inspiring vision of education and how her company should be developed in all transparency through a new organization system called Holocracy. I was very curious to learn how they both share the CEO role with her co-founder Julia and how she quit her job to found her company while being pregnant. I was also very keen to learn more about how they used that holacracy system to develop the NGO in their companies to more than 25 employees, giving full transparency to the salaries and using that system to give ownership and power in the decision-making to all employees. If you want to learn about what flexibility and transparency might look like in the future of modern organizations, this episode is for you. Welcome to this podcast, Franzi. Thank you so much for taking some time for us today. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm excited. Actually, this is my first podcast, so I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Oh, really? That's great to hear.
Yeah.
We've been knowing each other for a few years now, and I've always been very inspired by your entrepreneurship journey, really. And for this interview, I've read one article about you, and the title was like 3 women who are changing the world of education. I've read that your company has educated more than 25,000 kids since 2015. That's a very, very impressive number. But I know as well that you, like Julia, your co-founder, and your team have been working really hard for that. And you also have a very specific mindset and type of organization. So I can't wait to learn more and to have the chance to have this chat together. So to start, can you explain us what's the name of your company or your companies in your case, and what's your role?
Yeah. So first, thanks for the compliments. I also enjoy talking to you about these things and exchanging thoughts with a lot of different people from different fields. Yeah, so maybe so our first company was founded in 2016. We started the initiative in 2015, but actually founded the company in 2016. It's called Junge Tüftler. This is quite a German name, but if I translate it word by word, it would mean like something like young tinkerers. And Tüfteln is a really, a really lovely word, I think, because it's a inventing person who is like not giving up, but really digging into things and really trying to look from different angles to find a solution, which is an innovation in the end. And right now we have two companies. So we founded a second company in 2017. Junge Tüftler is a non-profit. So this was a really conscious step, actually. We thought a lot about which kind of company we want to have, and we founded a non-profit. And in 2017, we founded another company, which is a for-profit and which is more looking into education for adults. And it's called Tufts Academy, so it has the same word in it. So there is, of course, the strong connection to each other. However, it is also quite common in the non-profit sector to have a non-profit and a for-profit. And we also found it way easier to have these two different versions of companies. And last year, actually, we started a third brand. It's called Form 21, which is connected. The name is connected to forming and building. And 21, like it's Form 21, means like all these 21st century skills and everything which comes with this kind of already pretty well-known term. And this is only a brand, not an own company. Yeah. And we have in total 28 employees over two companies. We are two founders, Julia and I. And this is already, I can spoil that already. This is the key to everything, I think, this connection between us. And we both share equally the shares, and also we both have the CEO role. So we share this really equally. And of course, this also has some tensions because we are not really good in separating clear fields, like Julia's only concentrating on that, I'm concentrating on this. We have these, but for major decisions and stuff like that, we always come together and discuss. And this might be sometimes confusing for the team who is responsible for what. But on the other hand, it brings so many values to the company to always check back and share the thoughts.
So you both have 50% of the shares, and it means as well, so for the decisions you always have to align because there is no third person.
Yeah, exactly. So this is how we set it up from the beginning, and we also talked about these things with other entrepreneurs, and we were lucky enough to were announced the Kultur- und Kreativpiloten in 2016, which is a prize that you win from the Bundesministerium für Wirtschaft. And there you also get some coachings and stuff like that. So we already did a lot of coachings, different kind of coachings. But what we learned in the beginning is really that if you are two people or more founding a company together, it's really, really important to have equal shares, because other than that, it will always create a kind of, that's what they told us. And we can just emphasize that because it worked out really well for us. Other than that, you will always have this kind of subtle feeling that he has more shares or she has more shares than the other person, and that it creates a hierarchy which is never healthy for this kind of setup, because you really have to work so closely together. You have to trust yourself. It's like a marriage, actually. And it's really important that you feel equal and have equal rights in the company. I think this was really beneficial to our story. Yeah.
And this podcast is called Mission First. So I'd like to know, what's the mission of your company, and if it's different from your personal mission, like what are your personal mission and the mission of your company?
Well, we founded the company actually driven by our personal interests. So it's really, really closely connected. When we started the initiative, actually, Julia and I, we know each other from a former job at a big corporate. And then I went to work in an agency, and she stayed in this big OEM. And however, we always wanted to do something together, and we wanted to work together. And we started with this first workshop for kids, actually, exploring technology. And this was for Julia has a different story of telling our founding narrative. However, mine goes like that. I worked in this agency, and we were half of the employees were designers, as I am, and half were developers. And I always found it super interesting what these developers could build and what this whole world is about and stuff like that. So I was really personally interested in learning more about coding and technology and all that. So what we did is actually we started to educate ourselves a little bit more, because there are so many educative kits and tools and all that out there. But what is really the missing link is this bridge to bring this nerdy stuff to all the kids equally. Or back then it was more like for my personal interest. This is interesting. I can use this coding thing, which is built for kids, but I can also learn it through this Blockly-based coding app. However, I was not a mother back then, and I was like, okay, we work with kids, that's all right. But only by getting into this education field, I realized the big impact of education also at a very, very early stage of kids. And I have to say that our mission actually and our values didn't change so much over the years. So we spent a lot of brain work in the beginning in shaping these values and our mission. But my personal view has not changed, but is now way more aware of the great impact we can have and of the importance actually of the work we are doing. I was not aware of that when we founded that. It only, we did this workshop, and then we did a camp, and then we got to work with different companies, and then we got to work with ministries and the Senate and stuff like that. And only then I realized the complexity of the whole education system in Germany, because it is quite complex, and also of the missing parts and of the how would you describe that? Of the where you have like, I don't know, where it's really failing. And
you said you combine education, something very interesting, I think, on your LinkedIn like about profile from the company. You said you combine education for sustainable development with education in the digital world. So can you explain to me what you mean by sustainable development in that case?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So this is something the UN declared these. How many are there?
Sustainable Development Goals 2030.
Yeah. How many are there?
Them, I think. 17, I think.
17, 19? Yeah, exactly. Sustainable Development Goals. And I feel like this was really a game changer, because before that, it was never so visible to the public that these are really the big issues we need to face in the future. And these are the topic actually people are interested in working on. However, we started with a very technology-driven focus. But technology is never enough for itself, right? It only is meaningful if you use it for a cause that really helps people. So I feel like this combination is really, the right way to understand how technology is used in a good way, like tech for good and stuff like that. So only if we use it for a cause that we really want to, that we really want to make better in a way, we can use it in the right way. Otherwise, it's, of course, there is this whole research stuff where you have to do things only to explore technology more and the capabilities of it. However, if you want to use technology as a tool to shape our future, I think it's very important to always start, and this is also where I come from and where my heart as well is, this designer perspective. What do people want to have? What do we need to have? And then use technology in the way to shape it. Maybe it's a great tool to help us to shape the future. And I think also the whole AI discussion and all that, technology will always be a mirror of our values and of ourselves as a society, but it's never evil itself or good per se. It's like what we make out of it. And I think this is really important to educate people and also kids and teenagers about that. And this is our purpose.
And so to explain our audience, what are your two companies doing in a few words? What do you offer as service for the two, with the two companies?
Yeah, so Junge Tüftler, as I said, was the first company. And what we did is we were actually, we were offering events. So we did project days, camps, workshops, makeathons, stuff like that, in order to get as many kids as possible excited about technology and about the possibilities. Today is the 26th of April. We are right in the middle of Corona crisis. So what we always emphasize is that we are not the key to only this knowledge, right? There's so much knowledge out there, and the people have to learn about how to educate themselves. And also we are offering, of course, a lot of digital, scalable material, which is freely accessible from all over Germany and the world, of course, in order to educate and yourself and do projects at home. And so it's like tutorials, and you have working sheets and stuff like that. We are also selling Tüftelboxen, which are like little toolkits that you can get to your home, and then you can tinker with your parents at the kitchen table, on the kitchen table. And so these are the main the main action parts.
So you offer workshops. So on one side with Junge Tüftler, you offer workshops to educate like kids and sometimes adults on site, and the Tüftler Academy is the online workshops where they can also like use the workshops. Are all the workshops linked to these Tüftler box? I saw the videos that like with these boxes, the kids can use air balloons to control the keyboard or to make music on the computer, or like can make their own how do you say that, like game pads to play Super Mario on their computer. Are they all linked to this toolboxes, or are some of the workshops also can they learn on their own online?
No, they are not all linked to these toolboxes. Actually, most of them are not linked to the toolboxes because we are not a hardware producer. So these toolboxes only came by parents asking us or schools asking us, where do I buy that? And most of the time, if they want to realize a project, you need this microcontroller, you need this I don't know, cables, you need this sensors and blah, blah, blah. So it makes sense to put it all in one box to make it more convenient for the end consumer, so to say. However, so Junge Tüftler is offering all these workshops and content and tutorials and stuff like that. And the Tüftler Academy is really the platform where all this is delivered. And it is also the company which is looking more into this adult education. So we focus on, for example, we get a lot of interesting questions from companies if we could train their employees as well in order to make them ready for the upcoming digitalization of their company in order to make them less scared of digital processes and all that. So what we do is actually we try to create an atmosphere where they interact with technology in a way that empowers them, that makes them feel strong about, yeah, I can handle that, and not like it's overwhelming me and it's so much and I can handle it. So we try to use different tools and hardware and software tools in order to get an idea of this big picture of digitalization. So what is an algorithm? What is AI? Why the heck is everybody talking about blockchain and stuff like that? But we try to do it in a very playful and way so that it's not overwhelming, but it's more like, I opened this black box. I understand the basics of it, and I know where I can find now online or wherever more information and educate myself further. So this is more like the goal. Yeah, and of course, teachers and pedagogues as per se are a super relevant target group as well for us, because schools are all facing the problem of digital education. And
how do you? So let's try to go back on in 2015 again. I'd like to understand how you really started with Julia. So you were working at a digital agency as a senior service designer. You had worked as a designer as well at Volkswagen before. So what's the trigger? Was there some kind of trigger for you to say, okay, now is a good time to leave my job and to create this company or to create this initiative? So can you explain us what were your first steps and how it really started?
Yeah, it is actually quite easy because we started this out of a personal interest and it got bigger and bigger. And then we got our first funded project, which was really big.
You were still working at the time?
Yeah, I was working 100%. And then in, December 2015, we were already quite exhausted. And and I was pregnant. And I was pregnant 5 months in May 2016, and that's when I quit my job and we founded this company actually. Because
so you decided to quit your job when you are pregnant,
yes.
5 months pregnant.
Yes, okay. Which is the best decision I ever made. However, of course, my dad freaked out. But actually, if I look back in my life, the really important decisions always felt to me like there is no other option. And I always did it out of a really strong motivation and out of I was so sure that this is going to work out. I don't know why, because we only had this one project. However, it was a big project. But I knew it's going to work out fine and that we will find a way how we can make this business work. And I was really in a good place. I mean, I was pregnant, but I'm not a person who is super concerned about security and about that I need a certain amount of income. I mean, of course, I live in an apartment, I eat, I buy clothes sometimes, but I'm not driven by so many materialistic things. And then I quit my job being 5 months pregnant. And we finished this project just before I gave birth.
So how long? Okay, so a few months then.
Yeah. Well, we already worked on this project, but it got bigger and bigger. So first I worked parallel, and this is also something I'm quite proud of. However, I know that it's not always possible because we bootstrapped everything. So we were always profitable right from the beginning. So we had this project already going. So we earned already money with our project while we were still working. I mean, I spent every evening, every weekend. It was really exhausting. But on the other hand, we always had this kind of freedom of shaping our company accordingly to our values and accordingly to what we think is right. And we never had a venture capital or something in. I mean, we are a non-profit. Nobody invests in a non-profit. And that really, I think that really helped us to be who we are today. And I feel like we have a strong backbone of values. And I think right now we really realize since 1 year or so that people apply for jobs. And I'm really happy about these applications. I'm like, yes, these people want to work with us. This is so cool. And in the beginning, of course, we were happy for everybody who joined our crazy trip. But right now it's like, wow, we attract really cool people. And this is something which makes me so happy and so, sure that we are on the right path.
Is that something that you hear a lot from the people who apply? Like, so at the beginning, you said that it was more difficult to attract people, but I mean, when I see the results now with the two companies and your website, which is like really like well designed, and do you like how much do the people who want to work with you are coming for the mission? How much do you feel that?
Yeah, I think it's a quite interesting field actually to work in. So it's technology, it's really future driven. However, it has this meaningful core that we want to have a political voice as well in the education system, that we really want to help shaping the future, that we want to empower people to be able to have a share in designing the future. And I think it's this interesting mixture, which makes it hard on the one side because a normal development person is not an education person most of the time. And an education person most of the time is not a person who is really into tech and digitalization and stuff. So I think this combination is kind of hard to find people who are right. But if you find them, it's gold. Like it's so important to share your knowledge. And I think more and more people get aware of that. And I think that also more and more people are frustrated with only working for money and fame, and that we can really offer a place where people find meaningful work. And luckily we are able to pay them as well. Okay-ish, I think.
Okay, so that was one of my questions. So do you already, like, you probably have a benchmark for a developer, for example, working for you, or a tech person working for you? Like, what are, I'm not asking you some salary numbers, but are we talking about the same? Can you manage to pay them? Probably not, I guess, in a similar way as they would in a pure tech company, or is it like, plus if I minus 20%, or how you compare your salaries compared to the market?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Of course, we are not paying developer money, but it is.
You're not paying them money?
No, we are not paying them the money a developer would earn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in a corporate world or something. That is true. And since, we already talked about it, but I'm going to repeat it now. We started to work with a holacracy set up for 1 year ago, I think. Yeah, over 1 year ago now. And this is also interesting because one really crucial and first step we took was to make the different incomes transparent to everybody, and to really have 5 people from the team create our payment system.
So can you explain? Just take a step back, and can you just explain what is a holocracy to everyone? Because this is some word that I learned with you, and I'm not sure everybody knows what this is.
Yeah, sure. So holacracy is a kind of organizational form where we try to share power. So it's not like a triangle form of the hierarchy, so where Julia and I are on top and we have all the major decisions, and then it trickles down in the different levels, but it's organized in circles. And there are circles who have different responsibilities and also have different decision levels, so to say. And we really try to get the great people that we work with into the position of being able to take the decisions they are good in. Because Julia and I, we don't have an MBA or something, so we founded these companies. These were our first companies.
What is Julia's background, by the way?
Oh, Julia is a media researcher. Yeah.
Media researcher.
Yeah, exactly.
So not tech.
No, well, she had some coding and stuff like that as well, because back then it was already in the curriculum. However, we are not business people, not at all. We are not technology people per se, I would say, or by our education. And but we are working with all these great people, and of course we educated ourselves and we learned so much. But this holacracy system is really looking into giving the most power to the team, in order that they feel that they have really a share and that they can really design as well the company with their values. So the values are the core which keeps us all together. However, if somebody decides that we should open a new acquisition project or something like that, of course they don't have to ask me. If they think it's good and it's beneficial for the company, they can do it. And also knowing about how all these personal actions are playing into the value of the company, gives you such an entrepreneurial spirit, because if I spend my time now 2 hours browsing a website or something, the company loses money, and in the end everything is transparent, right? They know that we need to earn a certain amount of money in order to pay ourselves well. But yeah, this was really a crucial step, I think, and it's also not finished yet. We made everything transparent, like all our incomes, all our money.
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
So I would love to dig actually into that because I think it's there are a lot of topics including in that. I will actually encourage people to just you wrote a very interesting blog articles about feeling the work with emotions and holacracy that I highly recommend people to read on your LinkedIn profile. They can find it in your articles. And so you said that there are 3 things that's part of this holacracy is transparent wages, independent acquisition of projects that one is interested in, and also transparency in accounting. So you were, before I cut you off to explain what holacracy was, you were talking about accounting and wages. Let's focus on that, and then we can talk about how it actually works for the acquisition of projects. So how does it work with the transparent wages and your transparency in accounting? You were saying you had 5 people who are actually working on this accounting part. So
yeah, exactly. So they created a system which is organized in different steps. So you have horizontal lines and vertical lines. Horizontal lines is engagement level, so how much responsibility do you take? And the vertical lines are how experienced am I? And on the upper left, so to say, you have the lowest income, and on the lower right, you have the highest income. Because on the lower right, you are horizontally on the most out there to take the most responsibility for the company, and you are the most experienced one. And this is transparent to everybody, and we are iterating on it, because we also found that for certain people we have to pay maybe more. How can we implement this in the system? So there are also kind of hacks which come then on top and stuff like that. But however, this is a really simple table, and then you can see who is in which category, and then you can estimate how much who is earning. And also Julia and I are implemented in the system, because we are a non-profit. We are not allowed to pay us boni and stuff like that in the end of the year, right? So we live by our wages.
And so is it transparent? Does it mean that all employees know how much you earn and how much the other earn?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you evaluate? So you have these 2 axes. One is the experience. One is how much engagements, how much engaged they are with the company. Mm-hmm. How do you evaluate? Let's start with the experience. How do you evaluate the experience of 3 different people?
Well, the experience is actually a kind of easy way, because it's a calculation thing of what is your education and how much years of experience do you have in other companies. And then there is this kind of calculation thing, which tells you in the end which category you are. I think it's more interesting to talk about the engagement level, because this is also where you jump really quickly in higher wage categories. So we don't emphasize so much the experience level, which was really important to me, because I think not so much experienced person who is really giving everything he or she can be way more beneficial to a company than somebody who is in the field for 10 years but just not motivated or something. But still, we wanted to, of course, emphasize that you invested in your education and stuff like that. However, these kind of engagement level are way easier to jump into higher wage categories. And this is interesting because not everybody wants to take more responsibility. So there are people who are happy to actually stay in a lower responsibility category, and therefore are also okay with, that I'm not earning so much more, but it's also maybe not so stressful or something. And that is fine. And that is what I really enjoy about this system, because you can switch between the categories. You can go up and down, not like within a month, but whatever your situation is.
How often do you review these, like the where you are and where the people are on this graph?
Well, we implemented this, I think, 6 months ago, approximately. Mm-hmm. And we worked on it for half a year. Then we implemented it now six months ago. And what we did is everybody did a self-evaluation. And then there was a team of 5 people who talked with you about your self-evaluation and kind of leveled it out. And then we had conversations. And this is also a very interesting part to Holocracy, because there are, of course, personal tensions coming up, because maybe somebody thinks, I'm not taking so much responsibility. And the team thinks, you are taking this responsibility. Don't be so shy and don't be so humble. Go for it. And of course, there's also the other side where people think they are like the super performer, but maybe the team of 5 is like, maybe you were a little bit self-confident here. Let's talk about this. And this is also something which really needs to be coached and which needs to be moderated by a person who is not in the company. So we have this clear the air meetings, which is super important in order to tackle these personal tensions which come up. And in order to talk about that, because the team and the happiness of the team is in the end the core of our efficient and long-lasting work. And so we invest a lot of time and money into these kind of work to make the team really happy. And of course, we are not always happy. We are fighting and we are discussing, but it's important that we agree on our values and that these tensions help us to learn how we can get better, and not that they are like breaking us apart.
And how have you, before asking you that, let's talk about the second part. How there is a part about like responsibilities and accountability. And you said, for example, everyone can acquire some new projects without asking you anything. How does that work? Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, this was only an example, right? So everybody is involved in all the company structure things, and acquisition was only one example for that. However, if you ask me about an example, like in the beginning, Julia and I, since we are the founder, and still we are kind of the most visible faces, I think, of the company, we acquired most of the projects. And I feel like bringing in different people and our team growing, we had so many interesting inputs from different colleagues. One is, for example, curating a movie festival on her free time. The other one is producing really, really great music. The third one is organizing some hackable makeathons in her free time and stuff like that. And all this is so valuable and rich. And what we learned is that these people of course, talk to way different people than I or Julia would talk to. And that we open up, of course, and that we try to motivate them to acquire projects, which are super interesting to them. And it fits into our company actions. And there's, I think, nothing more satisfying than you bringing in your own project from your own background and working on that within your company and getting paid for it. This is kind of, for me at least, this is like my dream job, right? I'm doing this every day, and I feel so lucky about that I can do that.
So does this happen a lot right now? Like you studied that about a year ago. Like, do you have an example of project that came in, and how, like, do you accept all projects? Do you, like, is it no question asked, or how do you evaluate then, the resources that would be needed for that, like, projects, and if you have them?
Well, we have quite different projects. Maybe I need to explain how we are. How our business case works a little bit in order to understand that, because we are a non-profit, so we have a very creative way of business case, I think, because we never, or at least this is our goal, want to have the kids or the parents of the kids pay for the events, because we want to make it open for every social level and for everybody to participate in our events. So we don't have a direct B2C business case. We always have a cross-financing way of getting our projects paid. And we work with companies, for example, who are paying our projects from the CSR or HR department.
Corporate
social responsibility. Yeah, exactly. Department from their HR department, from their digitalization or IT department. So this is like a classical project. They pay, they have clear expectations, and we work on the project.
Do they pay as sponsors, or do they pay, as sponsors for an event that you suggest them that is, like, not even related to the employees, or do they pay to organize that for the employees' kids, for example?
Yeah, both. So it's very, very different. So I think what we are really good in is tailoring these kind of events according to our clients' needs. And of course, we do events for kids of employees, but we also do, like, more in a sponsorship way projects, like the CSR department wants to invest in education in the region they are located in, and they come to us and we develop together a kind of project. And sometimes it's also like we have a cool idea of something which we really want to do, and we go out and try to talk to people and try to find companies or other foundations and stuff who are interested in that and who want to fund us. So so this classic project work is one core part of our work. Then we have this, we work a lot with foundations. And we also work with kind of governmental structures, because education is a governmental responsibility. So we also work with this governmental structure. So these kind of three different clients, so to say, we are working with. And coming back to your question earlier is sometimes it is like that we, or most of the time it is like that people come to us and tell us, we want to do something in education and we want to work with digital tools and stuff like that. We have this and this project idea, and then we come in with our expertise and try to shape this kind of event or coaching or whatever comes out in the end. But there's also that we create ideas. For example, our autumn camp 2 years ago and last year ago was always initiated by one team member. And the first one was like a sustainability camp for kids here in Berlin. So it was Improve Your Kids, and the kids built with different hardware and software tools with Raspberry Pis or the Calliope and Scratch and Makey and all these kind of tools. Little robots who were like watering the city trees and One kid was doing a kind of interaction game for the subway, that the people are not so isolated, but they get in touch with each other. So the kids really imagined what they want to change within their kids, and then they built it. They built little prototypes, and it was all functional prototypes, which I think is super impressive. Within 3 days to have a little robot driving around and measuring the humidity and the dirt and then watering accordingly. Wow.
In the neighborhood, so for the people who are not German or not living in Berlin, because everyone living in Berlin know what a Kiez is, but a Kiez is the neighborhood of the projects was a 3-day project for the kids of a certain neighborhood to improve their neighborhood.
Exactly. And then last year's autumn camp was also really cool, because we have this musician, Josa Peit is her artist's name, and she is really into electronic music, and we had a only girls camp to explore computational thinking and electronic music, and they had a really nice performance in the end in the Akut macht neu, which is a quite known place in Berlin for artists and music and stuff like that. And we had the ideas for these 2 camps, and then we went out and found money for it. And this is also a kind of interesting way we are applying for projects.
So the person, your employee comes back with the idea, you find the resources, you find the fans, like you divide that, and then you say we're gonna do it, and a few months after it's on.
So this is the best case you are describing now. Sometimes we don't find money or it takes longer. Yeah, we are also right now working on a really, really interesting project, because we think that education is not going to change at all if we are not looking into how kids are graded and how they show what they learned, and that learning also takes part outside of school. Most of the time, even more efficiently than inside of school. And how can we create a grading system? And grading system is not even the right word. How can we create a system which helps you show what you learned without being always forced to have the standardized tests in the end, and without the possibility of showing your personal and individual interests? Because our education system is, I could open a whole new topic about it, is really old, and is really based on a system which is not modern enough anymore, and which is not like relevant anymore. Yeah.
How does that work for you? You're like tackling a topic that is very interesting. Mm-hmm. When you talk about every kid should be able to be judged on what he's learning, even outside of the normal, let's say, classical school system. But with coronavirus now, I was reading that, with the people at home, they also realized that there are a lot of inequalities between the kids and, the chances they have, at the opportunities they have at home to have all the equipments for that. So how I saw the workshops that you have, for example, with on your online workshops with the Tufts Academy, the price range is going from 15 euro, starting at like 10-15 euro to like 25. What's the price range for that? And do you
35.
have 25? And what do you do for the kids to be able to pay for it, for example? Because with the first non-profit organization, the Junge Tüftler, you said that you always have a third party who is like offering the education, the workshops to the kids. For the online workshops, how do you proceed, or do you have some vision of the future, how you can manage to provide that to as many kids as possible?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, what we always do is everything we create, all the content we create, we put under a CC license. So once it's out there, it's free accessible for everybody.
What's a CC
and it's
license?
Shareable. Creative Commons license, which is a license which is quite, it's like an open source license, but for educational content. Okay. And then you can share it and remix it and stuff like that. However, Corona put us, of course, in a situation where all our events went down from one second to the other. And we started with this online workshops. And this is interesting because, of course, it is a new business case for us. And as I said before, this was never our goal to charge the kids directly for the classes they are participating in. However, right now we need to do this in a way to explore if this works or not for us. But we don't want to lose our value that every kid should have access to these things. So we are right now also cooperating with different foundations in order to have them pay for the webinar, for example, or for the workshop, and then we can deliver it to the kids for free. And afterwards, after the workshop happened online, all the content is free anyway. So you can have all the information about how you build this Scratch game. You have that anyway in a written form and in a YouTube video. However, if you want to participate in the direct workshop, this is a paid content right now. Yeah, and we are trying to cooperate with foundations in order to make it free as well, because this is important to us.
So I should connect you. Do you know Lubomila Jordanova from Plan A?
No.
And then I should connect you to her. It was the first interview of our first episode of this podcast, and they are offering a platform to help companies be more sustainable. One of the thing they offer us in that is this carbon offset, when you can actually pay for that. And I wonder, so the companies who cannot improve some of the things to be more sustainable cannot actually pay for some projects that are selected by Plan A and that are contributing to a better environment. So this is basically also doing what you are mentioning here, is using third-party companies who want to compensate or to offer to do some good by paying for that, and maybe you can actually be part of the projects. That's something I don't know, but I will connect you to Lubomila. She's a great person to meet.
Super interesting. Yeah, because education, I think in Germany, I don't know about Belgium actually, but in Germany it is really that everybody expects, of course, everybody expects the state to organize the education system, which is right, I think, because that ensures that everybody has the same chances to get an equal education. However, on the other hand, the system is super slow and is old and not innovative enough in order to keep up with the current developments. So I think what we need to learn is that it is an issue for the whole society, and to innovate our education system. And of course, the state needs to innovate their education system, but also parents play such an important role in the education system. And how can we support parents as well to be as supportive as possible without being overwhelmed and without having this how do you say that, without having this segregation, is that the word?
Mm-hmm. Segregation, yeah.
Even more that it depends where you come from in order to understand where you can go educational wise, and to also have companies help improving the system, because they are looking for employees afterwards. And I understand that in Germany it is important that no companies come into schools and brainwash our kids, if I put it on a really
extreme level.
Extreme level. However, I think it is totally okay if they give money in order to help improve the system. For example, why don't we let them pay for hardware? Why don't we let them pay for initiatives like ours? Because there are so many great education initiatives out there to help the system, the school system, the federal system, innovate even faster, because they can do it on their own. I think it's such a historical and fixed system, but there are so many innovative companies out there, just like ours. And I think to help them bridge within school learning and outside of school learning even better, that would be a really crucial step. And also then to to help them show what they learned when they participate a Junge Tüftler project or something, right? You learn so much also in sports clubs. And if you, I don't know, volunteer for Die Tafel or something, you learn so much in life outside of school, which is not visible at the moment for others. And yeah, as I said, we are working on a system. We are looking into open batch systems. I don't know if you know that. That is a system invented by Mozilla. And this is a way that you create these badges, digital badges, and you can earn them. And a lot of different educational initiatives are looking into that, because we all get asked the same questions. How can I show what I learned here? And how can I show this in a way that it's valuable to others, and not like Junge Tüftler printed out this little sheet of paper which says, congratulations, you took coding 1. And then another great initiative is printing out a paper, but to kind of find a system which is working on a bigger scale and which is opening up educational grading systems more into a way where you can show what you did so far, like a project-based portfolio thing.
So is this what this is, like the open batches? Like, what is it exactly? How is it related to showing what you've learned?
Okay, so open batches is a system which is developed by Mozilla, and it is actually only a way of encrypted batch thingy. Everybody can create a batch, and then you can define what the person needs to reach in order to get this badge. And for example, if you have certain MOOCs or something, if you follow them, sometimes you already get this badge. And this is like a digital sticker, which you can use on LinkedIn or whatever
for
platform.
Your employees. Okay.
Yeah, to show that you participated in that. But of course, at the moment, it's still everybody can create that, and this is good. But you always have to look really into the badge. What does it mean, and does it have any value to us? But I think for education, it is a big chance, or there's a huge chance to innovate the system. And if you look at creative job applications, I already applied with a portfolio 10 years ago, and I think this is way more showing what you are actually capable of and what you learned, and not only like the grades and stuff like that. Because it shows you more as a person, as a whole person, and not as a look how fine I did in this standardized test. Because this is not what we need anymore, right?
Yes, and you are tackling an interesting topic right now, because with this holacracy system, which is very particular, I think it's fantastic and looks very promising. If I would build a company tomorrow, I would definitely look into it. It's still very original, and not all people by essence, I think it's meant for people to be more social and to be more free, and to give accountability to the persons, but not, as you said, not all persons fit into that system. So how do you, when it comes to recruiting, how do you check for company culture fit in that case, and how do you evaluate the skills of the soft skills of those people and the hard skills of the people to make sure they fit into that system and they can properly do their job?
Yeah, that is an interesting question, because this is of course hard, but it is super crucial in order to make this whole system work in the end. So what we do first, if we have a job opening, we already try to, and that I learned from you actually, Gilles, we already try to put all this in the application. So we try to emphasize that we are working with this holacracy system, and that this is really, really important to us as a key, as a key value. And then we try to already use the wording within our job description that is looking into this, you want to take responsibility, and I don't know, our team is so we try to emphasis on our team culture and all these kind of things. And then we have if we get the applications, when we get the applications, we have a structure, a system, which is actually supporting the team to be an active part in the process. So we have two interview levels, where we have different people talking with the
Candidate?
The candidate, with the candidate, and in the end, it's of course also about, you have to talk to the person and you feel how he or she is explaining themselves. However, we also try to be really, really transparent in our Erwartungsmanagement. What is that word?
What's the word in German?
So Erwartungsmanagement. So
expectations management. Expectation management.
Expectation. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's that easy. Expectation management. So we try to be really transparent in our job interviews, to also open up for what tensions we are facing right now. And we really open up as well that we have this transparent wage system and all these. And then you realize pretty quickly if this person is all excited about it or is like super confused. And this doesn't mean that these persons
so
are
do they
out,
ask
because
you,
it's still very new.
I can see it coming. I go like how many people ask you like, so will everybody know what my salary is?
Yeah. This question is like a standard question, of course, but the answer is yes and no, because you can decide how you travel within this system, and the system is, of course, in the end, nobody will know exactly the cent and the euro you earn, because if you are married,
category.
Yeah, exactly. You know the category, and this is really important because also the team then knows very transparent. You decided on performing in this engagement level, and then I can expect you to jump in this acquisition project, for example, and support us. And it's very helping in a way that the roles of the single team members is way more clear to each other. And it's not like, I know that Gilles is always doing this and this, so I ask him if he could support me, but I know Gilles is in this category, and then I can expect this and this from him. And if he's doing better, I can talk to him and say, hey, you should be in a higher category, actually. Or I can also challenge you and say, hey, are you all right? Do you think you might want to scale down a little bit? It seems like your baby is stressing you out right now very much.
Because
it's
also something you're offering. Like with the system, if I remember correctly, when we talked a year ago, you explained me that you had like various type of people and also contracts, like from full-time to part-time to like, working moms and working students. Do you offer, how does it work? Do you have like flexible time options in your company and like flexible schedule?
I think we are only flexible. Sometimes this is hard, but nobody has the same contract in our company.
Can you give us an example? Like, do I sign up saying, okay, I'm going to work 3 days a week? Or is it, and I have to stick to these 3 days? Or do I sign up saying, okay, I can work from 1 day to 5 days and it's up to me?
Yeah, so it depends because we are event driven, right? We are doing events, and we have people exactly committing to us. I work 3 days per week, but if you have an event then on Saturday, of course, you need to work on a Saturday. So we also expect the people to be flexible. However, of course, we have parents as well working for us, and they cannot be as flexible as somebody who is single maybe, And so we do have different contracts. We have people working 24 hours, for example, per week, and then they can spread it over the week, however it works for them. It is, of course, good to have certain days where you can reach them also for themselves, because sometimes it's also overwhelming if you have these 24 hours and in the end you're always on. But we also have parents who say, like, I work from Monday to Friday from 8 to, 2, and then that's it. And they get more, but that also implements that they need to work on projects which are more structured and not so fluctuative when it comes to weekend works and stuff like that. So yeah, we have very, very different contracts. And I think this is also, for me, this is a key to happiness factor for the team, because there are people who come in at 11 to the office. This would be my worst dream. I need to get up early. I need to work early because this is the most productive time for me. But I know there are different people, and that's all right.
And how do you manage that in that case? Because I know this is something I had is like installed in my previous company. Everybody was allowed to work minimum 80%. But this was something as well when you work with, you work with two different sites as well, with some like a team, or let's say an office in Berlin and an office in Düsseldorf. What are the tools you are using to manage all that? And how do you make sure that like people are aligned on when there is meetings, or when can I book a meeting with you and everything? So sorry, so it was a lot of different questions. Maybe one question is which tools do you use, and how do you manage to get all the people working together at the same time when they need to?
I think one key aspect to that is being gentle with each other. I think that means, to me, we are offering a lot of flexibilities, and we are really open-minded about that, but we also expect then that the people value that, and that they are also trying to be as flexible as possible. And that works out great, because we are not such a big team, right? We are under 30 people, and that works out really well. And I think everybody understands the value of this flexibility. But it only works if you are then also giving as much as you think this is worth to you. On the other hand, we use, of course, all the different project management tools. Like of course, there's email. Then we use Slack I use Slack for most of my communication with the team. We use Asana for acquisition projects, project management, all that kind of stuff. We use Google Drive, so the G Suite, for our day-to-day work on documents and stuff like that. We use Glassfrog, which is a tool for our holacracy management system, where you can see who is organized in which circle and who has which responsibilities and stuff like that. And what else do we use? We use a contact management tool, which is called HubSpot, where you can gather all the contacts from all the different people. So we put a lot of emphasis in sharing knowledge and trying to make knowledge within the company as transparent as possible. And of course, we have several meetings, but what we also learned, we had one team meeting per week till 1 year ago or something, where everybody came together. And this is just not working anymore, because not everybody can know everything, and not everybody needs to know everything, and this is just waste of time. So we are now, we split it up into different, this also comes with Holocracy, that the circles have different meetings, and I don't need to be in every meeting of that, but the acquisition meeting, for example, is happening at this certain time, and it repeats regularly, and that works fine for us.
And can people decide to jump into a meeting when they want to? For example, you have these acquisition meetings. Like I'm not in it tomorrow, for example, but if I feel like I want to start to be in it, do I have to ask you if I can get into it, or do I can just jump into it or be part of that meeting, let's say, included?
Yeah, this is also a very important part of Holocracy, that everybody can join meetings if they think it's valuable to them, and then you ask so the circles are also, there is hierarchy, right? We are not a hierarchical, we are not missing any hierarchies, but it's just spread it differently. So the circles also have one person who is responsible for this circle.
Can you explain, sorry to cut you off, can you explain a bit, what are these circles? Can you give an example, 2, 3 examples of these circles, and how do they work?
Yeah. So we have different circles. There's the holistic circle, like the Gesamtkreis, it's called. And this is where all the minor circles are within. So this is actually the whole company. And then there is one circle which is called back office. And then the relevant people from bookkeeping and office management and stuff like that meet within this circle and discuss, can we buy new software licenses, blah, 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 blah. Then there is one circle which is called project management. And only the project managers sit in there and discuss acquisition, discuss cash flow, discuss project status and which project needs to be more taken care of or something like that. And these are just some examples of the different circles. And Julia and I are definitely not in all the circles, but we are in some with our roles. And then we are not there as Julia and Franzi, but for example, in the project management role circle, I would be in my role as I am responsible for acquisition and I am responsible for strategic finance planning.
So you're not the CEO in that case. That's you exactly. Just come with your skill or your responsibility.
Yeah, with only the roles I have within this circle. And of course, I can always ask the responsible person of this circle. So there's this one lead link, it's called, and he or she is responsible for organizing this circle. And then I can ask, for example, the back office circle, hey, I have an issue. Can I join your meeting next week? Can you please invite me? And then this person has to invite me. So yeah, it's open. And I can also apply for different roles. I can also say, this role is not relevant to me anymore. I want to leave it. Somebody else should take it. All that is possible. So it's highly flexible and it's adaptable. And I think in the end, it will always... So we will never be done with all that. So it's always growing and developing and changing. And this is interesting, of course. But yeah, this is also pretty, on the one hand, it feels like very new way of working. On the other hand, it feels like, yeah, actually, this makes sense. It's also not so new.
What is the hardest, or what was the hardest in implementing Holocracy or in general in your company?
So Holocracy. So I think the hardest is that we realized on our way that it is a process that is never finished, right? And this is good, but it doesn't feel like, okay, now we implemented Holocracy, check. No, it's always like you have to learn so much in the beginning. And I think in the beginning, it was also really overwhelming to a lot of people because it has all these rules and it has all these set up things. And you need to do a lot of work in the beginning to define all the roles, to define the circles, to learn about the rules and that the meetings are different and stuff like that. So it feels kind of, oh God, we are forced into the system now. And I think the curve goes down first and the frustration. And then you are like, only then you are like learning not learning, but you're experiencing what the benefits really are. And you need to invest first. And I think that can be really frustrating. But
how did you overcome that as a CEO leading that? How did you overcome that? How did you manage to keep the people motivated?
We had a lot of discussions actually about that and if we want to quit working with Holocracy at all. And Julia and I always felt very strong about this is the way we think that a modern company should look like, and that these are the values that we want to work with all these people. We want to emphasize that they are, the key to our work, and that they all have a sharp mind, and that they should bring it to the table, and that we want a company where everybody can engage and shape and design. And so this always kept us going, I think. And we never neglected, or we never kind of tried to push the discussions away, but we emphasized the discussions, and we had really hard discussions about if we should do it further or not. And I also changed my mind sometimes, and I was like, we cannot do this anymore. But I think this is healthy, and that the team also sees that the CEOs are not like, it's going to be this, join us, but that they are discussing it with us. And we had a great coach who is still guiding us through the project or through this whole holacracy process. I think this is crucial because you cannot do it by yourself. I think this is too complex, and you are too much, it takes so much time and so much learning, and you need to be,
So you had a coach,
we still have
all along with you. You still have it, and let's say right now on that topic, you would say that now it's like it's never fully or completely implemented, but now it's working, and you are happy with the system.
Yeah, and I think that this crucial step of these transparent wages really showed the team as well that we are serious about it, Julia and I, because this was not easy for us as well to, I don't know. I think every founder and CEO is very driven by their idea and protective of the work they created. And it's hard to also give this in the hands of others with the best knowledge that they will do the best for the company and without being afraid of losing control. I mean, I'm in this position because I like to take decisions, and because I like to work extra hours, really long and hard, in order to get this project going. And then to let go is also a personal development, which is not always easy. I enjoy it, but on the other side, it's also challenging me very often. Really,
what's your learnings about? Like, what's your learning about this? About letting it go? Do you have some example you can show? Like, when it went well, surprisingly well, or when it went surprisingly bad, for example, and how you how you corrected that?
Yeah, well, I think some people also left us within the last year, and this was hard for me personally because I really liked these people and I really appreciated their work. But I also found that this is healthy. It's a healthy growing process, because before Holocracy, I would have managed and I would have organized everything that these people could stay and that we create an environment which works for them. And now with Holocracy, I realized that it's not only me who is like trying to be the mom of the company, but to let the employees actually be adults themselves, and to, this sounds weird, but I think this parent-kids metaphor works quite well sometimes. And that this is not the system everybody wants to work in, that they are afraid of not being able to put pressure on other people. And within these conversations, I realized, okay, this is not the way I want to lead this company. I don't want people to be afraid to not putting pressure on their coworkers or something. This doesn't feel right. We don't need to put pressure on each other. We want to, of course, challenge us, but enable us to do the best work we can do. And and this was hard to see really qualified people go, but the system didn't work for them. And I strongly believe that this is the right way to go. And right now I'm pregnant again, and I'm prepared to be not in the company for quite a while, hopefully. Let's see. Because I still want to be involved, of course. However, I feel so confident that we have this 1 year of learning and empowering the team, that I feel pretty confident that so many people within the team feel so empowered that they will manage to keep the company alive in the best way I would also do it. And this makes me very happy and very satisfied to see that, and to see people grow into new positions just like that, because they just do it. And this is how Julia and I did it. And I feel like this was so, this path was so important to me and so valuable. And now I see other people going in the same direction, and it makes me so happy. And yeah.
If somebody doesn't perform well and doesn't it keeps on not going well, would the system auto-regulate himself as well? And would everybody like also discuss a termination all together? Like maybe it did not happen in your company, but maybe you have other examples from other companies, or maybe in the system it's already kind of like discussed, because it seems that like, this holacracy system that you installed for people, it's not like something out of the blue that you try to do yourself. You have a coach, it's organized. So regarding termination, for example, how does that work? How does that work? Like,
yeah, and this is a very interesting question.
It's a very like difficult question, but this is why I was hesitating to ask it. But
this is exactly the right question. I'm glad that you asked it, because in the beginning, everybody only thinks about the happy cases. But then if you if you get into these kind of, uncomfortable situations where you have to give also maybe negative feedback, this whole empowering people to be part of it kind of gets weird, because we also learned that everybody wanted to be part of this transparent wages thing, because we thought, you think like you can do something good for your coworkers. And also we have employees feedback sessions twice a year. And we also have, in the beginning, Julia and I did it. And now we have team members coming in. And in the end, hopefully also team members will be able to give feedback each other way better. However, we found ourselves in these feedback sessions that the co-workers were always giving the very positive and maybe a little constructive feedback. But in the end, the kind of negative feedback was always put back to us. And Julia and I were like, okay, and now I am the idiot who is responsible for giving the negative feedback. And actually, I addressed that quite directly in the team. And I think we are still learning because feedback doesn't need to be, even if it's constructive, I think we should learn. And this is, of course, not easy, because it's not common in our society to tell Gilles, I think you could have done better in this and this or something. And I think we still need to learn on that. And Julia and I learned it because we had to in our history of the company. You have to just give negative feedback sometimes. And I feel like it needs to be understand that it can help you grow as a person to be able to deliver feedback, but also to learn how to take this feedback. And I think this is very important for all of us. And we are trying to put more emphasis on that in order to enable the people to give also negative feedback, but don't feel bad about it. Because, I think it's a cultural thing. And we are still iterating around that, honestly. But I think we identified this quite well, and the team is aware of that. And I think we are getting better in also giving constructive and maybe sometimes negative feedback, to each other.
There's a really, really good book about how to actually like implement this, not negative feedback, but like it's called Radical Candor.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
No, what?
Radical Candor. It's a really good book where from an ex-employee at Apple and Google, and she really explained how to foster a culture of improvement feedback in the company.
Yeah.
So
and I talked to a friend who worked for BCG, Boston Consulting. And this was interesting because they have a really, really, really intensive feedback culture in different levels. And you get feedback all the time, and also negative feedback. But on the one hand, there is a lot of, without explaining it too much, on the one hand, there is a lot about this continuously feedback thing, which I don't like. But on the other hand, it also helps you to not take it so personal, and that to understand that feedback helps you grow. And I think this is a society thing which needs to change and which needs to be improved on.
The more often you do it, the more like easy people like are used to get it.
Yeah, and also the how is playing such an important role.
Of course, yes, of course.
Yeah.
And to go back to the question, did it happen at any time that one time that you had to terminate someone, and was it a group decision in that case? Or did all the people leave in that case?
No. So we had this situation and we discussed it. I have to admit that Julia and I are still a strong team, and that we have of course, a relationship to each other, which is very, very friendly and trusting. And so I would always go to Julia still if I have an issue which is like, bothering me. But then I also we discussed that, and then we also talked to different people who have the right roles, because there is, for example, a hiring and development role, which is not only filled by Julia and I, but also by a team member. There, I talked to another person who worked directly with her on a project, and we discussed them. That also helped me or us, Julia and me, to understand, is my picture the right one? Do I see it correctly, or do I miss something? And this is very, very valuable, because sometimes you are in like, this needs to be like this, and if this person doesn't do it the way I would do it, then this is bad. And this also helps me to step back and look at the situation from a more objective way. But in the end, we kind of separated, but in a really caring and friendly way, because I like this person as a person. However, if the work doesn't fit, it doesn't mean that that the work per se is not good, but it doesn't help the company right now to develop in the direction we need to develop, maybe. Yes. And and there is nothing bad about that, I think.
No, I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's always easier to say that it's for the good of everyone when sometimes something really doesn't work. Of course, I personally think that it's a job of like the CEO and the whole company to try their best to keep everyone, but sometimes when it doesn't work, and then people then like decide to leave by themselves, or sometimes you have to push that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The time is running. Like I told you, it's never gonna take an hour 40 minutes, but we're actually almost there.
Here we are.
Maybe let's say entrepreneur, the part about like being a mom, and you're gonna be a second time mom soon. What was the hardest part about that, growing your company, and what would be one advice you would give to persons who to moms or future moms who want to grow the company? Or start a company, actually, and being a mom?
Well, I think the most crucial thing is that you and your partner are working out well, because my husband is like, back then we were not married, but I sometimes I understand all these social media discussions about feminism and all that, but I am personally in this very luxurious situation where I would say we live a very equal parenting life. And this helps me a lot to do the work I love, and to understand that the work I do is also a big part of me and of my happiness. So I feel never responsible for taking care of the family by myself. This is really important. Also, the team I'm working with is very, very supportive and understanding. And I'm also not a person who is like taking off now half a year and then coming back. I never had this kind of wish. I still want to be in the company, and I feel like I feel like so connected to this mission and vision of the company that I don't want to sit at home and only do my mom things, which I love. I love being a mom. However, at the same time, I need to work on these projects because it makes me happy and it makes me, strong, and I don't know.
So did you take a real, like, how long was your real, like, say, break without touch base with the company? And after that, during the first year, what was your schedule like? Did you have one day? Were you working one day per week to catch up, or was it a few just only on Slack? How was it working for you?
Well, I think there is no I never decided to have one of these rules somehow. I think it depends, because if I would listen to myself now in a podcast, I would think, oh my God, this mother is neglecting her motherhood things, which is stupid, I know, but we all grow up in certain expectations, and it's hard to kind of distance yourself from that sometimes and check back which mom am I and what is actually good for me and my family. However, I feel I was always in contact with the people in the company, and I will hopefully be able to do this as well now, because I'm interested in the people I work with. I would call them friends rather than colleagues, because we are under 30. I know everybody. I have a real personal interest in everybody. And I'm super interested in taking business decisions as well right now. So with my first child, it was like, I think I had the first meeting after giving birth, 3 weeks after giving birth. This was weird. However, it was only one meeting and the baby was sleeping. So it is not like I'm working constantly then. And what I also realized, how friendly people also were bringing my baby to work. And he, for example, loved to be carried in this baby carry thing, which you strap around like it's a backpack, but in front, and you have the baby in there. And he slept 4 hours in this thing. And I was standing in a meeting and doing these weird little bouncing movements. And he slept for 4 hours, and I was in a meeting. And it was all good. He was happy. He was close to me. I was happy because he was there, and people were so understanding. I didn't expect how easy it actually can be to bring your baby as well to work.
Was it a meeting with a client or a meeting with your team?
No, it was a meeting with a client, actually. However, I also experienced quite different things, because we have big corporates working with us, and there this would be a no-go somehow. But we also have the possibility to work with other initiatives and stuff like that, and there it's not a problem at all. So it's a cultural thing which needs to change also in our societal expectations, I think. And yeah, I had a lot of great experiences around that, actually. And I felt very supported by my team, by my husband, by the system, and by the other initiatives we are working with. And yeah, and then you have to realize when a tipping point is reached, because this kid is, of course, getting bigger and more awake and more interactive. And we switched, I think, parental leave when Julius was 7 months, because he was so awake by then and he wanted to interact a lot. And this was a good time actually for us to switch. And then my husband went on parental leave, and I could focus on the job more. And yeah, and also my flexible work times. I am able to decide, hey, this morning we need to go to the doctors. Of course I want to be there, and of course I want to see what's happening. And then I work maybe in the evening. I'm not bothered by weird working hours in the night or during the weekends or whatever. I think, yeah, your own flexibility is a very important thing, and your own flexibility also to shape your picture of which mom are you, what is your parent, or what is your picture of you being a parent, and also to I don't know, to change that maybe, because I grew up in a very traditional. My mom stayed home till I was 6, and I grew up in Bavaria and all that stuff. But yeah, also actually Corona I'm kind of grateful for this situation, because I spent really a lot of time with Julius at home now, because he cannot go to Kita, and my husband just started a new job. So I was staying home, and I enjoyed it a lot, and it was a great time. But on the other side, I also understood how I miss work and how hard it is for me to missing out.
How easy was it for you to actually adapt to coronavirus? Because my assumption is that all these companies, and I was insisting on that last year in some of my videos on LinkedIn, so that the companies were actually not offering flexibility. They are like losing a lot of opportunity, and they are going to be like left behind at some point. And I think coronavirus just accelerated all of that, at least to my understanding. So how easy was it for you to adapt with your system to coronavirus?
Well, I think the first week we were kind of, oh my God, what is happening? Because, as I said, all our projects were event-based, or most of our projects were event-based. So all the events, of course, were canceled. But on the other hand, we are always preaching for blended learning systems. And right now we are in blended means you are online and offline, and you bring both together from both worlds the best parts, so to say. So there are moments where you learn online for yourself and you really dig deep into it. And then there are moments where you come together and you interact and you have this whole social learning approach, which is super relevant to us. However, right now, I feel exactly the same. We are in an accelerated process of improving our game when it comes to digital learning. And I feel like this is a societal experiment we are all in, which would never be possible without Corona. So I'm also kind of thankful for that, because everybody now is forced to explore it without too much doubting it in the beginning. And of course, it's not all good. I totally agree. But in the end, right now, we have the chance to reflect on that and to understand what works actually well. And of course, we want to meet, we want to be together. And I cannot wait to have my social life coming up again. However, I feel like we should spend more time right now on reflecting what can we learn from the situation, which helps us in the future to be more prepared and to not have all the systems shut down, and to also empower people to see it as a democratizing, is that a word? Democratizing. As a democratic tool, actually, that digitalization helps us to educate everybody around the world equally. And yeah, I'm super excited. And we kind of, we as a company feel that we are accelerated working now on our digital offer as well. And this makes me so happy, because this is exactly the right thing. And we did it before, but now we do it with all our forces. And this is
so you're taking advantage of the situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, we are also struggling because our classical and traditional business cases are kind of mixed up now. But I feel like this is a huge chance for us. And this is also a huge chance for the whole education system. And I would love to see more strategic things going on, and not only like, oh, we fix here a little thing and we fix here a little thing, but more like, on a more political and strategic level happening.
Good. Thank you very much for your time in general today. As I said, there are so many things I would like to discuss, but I won't take too much of more of your time. Just finish with a final question that I ask at all interviews. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite question to ask candidates during a job interview?
Oh, God. These questions are all hard. I have so many questions to the candidates, but most of the time, I think that it boils down to what are the values you are basing on your, or why did you apply here? What are the values you share, and what are the most interesting things for you want to see in your future work, maybe? Yeah, I guess.
So what are your values? Why do you want to work here?
Yeah.
And an easy one, what is one book you would recommend for the entrepreneurs who are building, a mission-driven company like yours?
I just read this really nice book, Alles könnte anders sein, von Harald Welzer, which is do you know it? It's a positive...
Everything could be different in English.
Yeah, I guess he's a German author as well. I really enjoyed it because it put so much emphasis on the positive things in the world right now. And he's also, in the really end of the book, he is showing like different initiatives who are value-based working and who are showing how we can change the world in a good way, and not only emphasizing our attention on the negative things who are like happening right now, in order to be able to act and not be in this shocking, unmovable situation.
Great, thanks. What would be one podcast or one blog or influencer you would recommend to follow?
Oh, there are so many, but I was really into a Zigzag by Manoush Samarodi and her co-founder, I forget her name, Jen something. And they are really inspiring to me. And they talked a lot about the zebra mindset. Do you know the zebra mindset, where you are not a unicorn, but not a, I don't know what the other thing is, but a zebra is black and white because they are working for good, but they also need to be profitable. And I think this is a very interesting concept.
The last one, before getting back to the best advice you've received, is a bit similar, but not exactly. What would you do differently if you had to start your company again?
Oh, this is a question we get asked very often. And honestly, I wouldn't, I mean, right, if I founded something now, I would do it differently. But I think the way we took is, I'm so glad and so happy for the steps we took. And I learned so much, and I would not want to miss it, because then I would not have learned all these things. So if I was me back then, I would do it exactly the same way, and it is good. If I founded now a company, of course I would do differently. I think there's so much value in this path you are taking and in the learnings. Be reflective all the way through and talk to as many different people as possible in order to reflect yourself, to take the most learnings out of your path. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, you answered it. It's also good to know that like you wouldn't change anything, and that you had a lot of learnings, and I think people will have learned a lot from everything you shared today. So that totally answers the question. So now I get back to the really final one, which is, what's the best advice you've received as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think this is not an advice I received, but this is something we did, and we always got mirrored back to us, is that we as this founding team were this is the base of everything, and that we had this good communication and this friendly communication between us and all the coachings we took and stuff like that. They were always, mirroring back to us that this is something they would always recommend to other people. And we had the luck to find ourselves and to work together. And I think I would never recommend somebody to found alone, I think, because it was so valuable to me. And it helps you so in all the situations to have a second opinion and stuff like that, and to be really careful also about this relationship with this other founding person. I think that is something I learned even more to value from coaches and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you. So now it's your time for, like, if people want to know more about you or your projects, how they can be involved, how they can book workshops for their kids or their companies, where can they find more info?
Yeah, so we are happy if people want to engage, of course, and if they want to join us. So we have two different websites. The one is the junge-tüftler.de website, where you can learn all about our company, our values, and what we do, what work we offer, actually. And then there is the Tufts Academy .de or .de website, which is offering all the Tüftelboxen, which you can order for your home tinkering with kids, and you can also book webinars and workshops there. We are always looking for interesting people who want to work with us, who are interested in future technologies and education, and happy to talk to interested people.
I will include the links in the podcast and everywhere online too. So again, thank you so much for your time today, Franzi. We went even we exceeded the time we had planned for that. So thank you very much for sharing all of this. I've learned a lot, and I wish you all the best with your companies, and have a nice Sunday.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Sheila.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you like this podcast, there are 2 things you can do that would mean the world to me. The first thing is to sign up for the podcast newsletter. That way you will be notified of the new episodes, but you will also get a summary of the learnings at the end of every season. Plus, for each episode, you will get the resources and the list of do's and don'ts that every guest shares with me. And finally, you will also get the opportunity to ask our future guests one question in advance. You can sign up for this newsletter on gtimpact.com. The second thing you can do to be super helpful is to recommend this podcast. For that, you can write a review on Apple Podcasts and share the podcast with your friends, other entrepreneurs, and people trying to build a sustainable future. That way, we can all learn together and work on a brighter future for us, our children, and our planet. Thank you very much, and see you next week for the next episode. Have a nice day.